Welcome to the event. We're really happy that you're here. We're about to go live in just a few moments, but before we lift off, there's a few important things we want to make sure that you're aware of so you get the best possible experience out of this. First of all, the sound current is supremely important to us, the musical experience. So if possible, we really encourage you to use good speakers or headphones to experience the class with. Second, if you have any pre-existing injuries, please take care of yourself, modify as you need to. Don't risk exacerbating an injury because of a yoga exercise. If you have any pre-existing medical conditions and you're not quite sure if this would be good for you, please consult with your primary healthcare practitioner and make sure it's the right thing for you. Also, make yourself relatively comfortable. You can use a cushion, and in fact, we encourage you in our seated positions, meditation practices, to use a cushion. It helps lift the heart up, keep the spine straight, and it's more ideal for the flow of energy in the body and for the meditation experience. You can even be sitting in a chair with feet flat on the floor for those of you that are unable to sit in a meditative sitting posture on the floor. Just use a chair, and for many of the exercises, that will work perfectly fine. And then lastly, if you're having any problems with the video streaming, try refreshing the page, or if you see a gear icon on the video, adjust your resolution. If you're new to this type of thing, just take care of yourself. If there's something that you don't quite understand, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Everything that needs to click will click after a few times of trying it out. Enjoy the experience. We're about to get started in just a moment. Hi, welcome everyone. So great to be with you. Thanks so much for coming. Thanks for taking some of your precious time to hang out and to do this together. All of our time is totally precious. This is one thing that's definitely true across the board. We all only have so many breaths here. We all have our family lives, our work lives, our play lives. Maybe even we have our Dharma lives, where we have time that is really, in a certain way, it doesn't sound too sexy, but I think it's really practical. It's systematically, we have a way of creating time in our life to help ourselves to blossom. I think this is what Dharma practice, yoga practice, meditation practice is all about. Taking care of ourselves in the way that it helps us to keep track of our genuine happiness and our sense of happiness, and to continue to strengthen the power of our happiness, because happiness is a type of power we can strengthen. But it's not a power that is I'm happy because, look how much money I'm making now. That's a good thing, though, if you were not making much money and now you've worked hard at it, or whatever, there's a flow of energy that came your way positively. Fantastic. There's nothing wrong with it at all, but it's not going to create sustainable happiness. That gives you a nice burst, a nice wave. It's like, okay, thank you. When good things coming, it's like gratitude comes. But when challenging things coming, work comes. And then if we realize that inside those challenging things there's equal blessing as the things that we were desiring, such as like prosperity coming to us, then we become more willing to do the work, because that sweetness that comes after you've had a whole spoonful of bitter, that sweetness tastes really good. So difficult times are equally as valuable as pleasurable times, but of course we wish for pleasurable times and happy times. We all, as human beings, have the innate desire to be happy, and we have the innate desire to no longer suffer. All of us share that in common. So we all share the life purpose of becoming happy and alleviating suffering. We all share that life purpose together. That's one way we could call our great purpose. But our great purpose in life also, it has like streams and tributaries that flow off of that greatest purpose that we all share together, the purpose of becoming happy, purpose of becoming alive, more fully alive. We share that, and then our unique sense of purpose that's totally unique to us flows off of that. And so each of us have different paths in our lives. Each of us have totally different architecture. That's why our personalities are different. The way we process emotionally is different. You process emotionally one way, your partner processes emotionally another way. And if we haven't really taken the time to understand each other like that, we're like, why are they always like that? You know, why can't you be more, essentially what we're often saying is, why can't you be more like me? When we're criticizing how the other people in our lives operate or somehow. You know, we all do this. This is loving relationships, relationships, that's why they're so fantastic, is they give us opportunities to grow that takes much longer when you're, you know, just sitting in the cave meditating all by yourself. And so those relationships, sometimes the relationship is called the highest yoga. But it has only when it's approached that way, of course. So an eclipse time, like we're having right now, and those of us here live, the eclipse has started, and then our meditation at the end of this experience is right in the peak of the eclipse. And those of you who are doing the recording of this, it's perfect, because it's not just like when the eclipse is happening. The eclipse is happening, but 2 weeks after today, another eclipse is happening. Eclipses always come in pairs. This time, first you have the solar eclipse on the new moon, and in 2 weeks you'll have a lunar eclipse on the full moon. And astrologers have all sorts of different opinions and ideas about eclipses and so forth and so on. And all of that I like to learn about and study and then, you know, see if my experience backs it up. My experience with eclipses it's definitely the case that doing meditation practice during an eclipse is an effective thing. When we had that, what they were calling the Great American Eclipse, when it went from, we had that full solar eclipse a few summers ago, that went from the northwest of the United States and cut right down through the center of the United States and then finished in the southeast of the United States. I was at my family's house in South Carolina during that, and of course everyone was going out to watch the eclipse, and of course it's a fantastic spectacle. Why wouldn't you want to look at it? Well, some people say, especially in the East, not so great to look at the eclipse. And with that being said, when you have that type of an eclipse, you know, there might be an aspect of that as superstitious. There may be an aspect of that is also practical. Everyone can, you know, find their way with all of that kind of stuff. But what I decided to do was to do a specific meditation during that time. And it was one of the coolest meditation experiences I've ever had, because I was in South Carolina where it was totality right above us. Like it was you know, they had that big festival in Oregon. There was totality there. There was totality in certain places. So I was in that spot where there was total totality. So everyone, my mom, my, you know, nephews, nieces, my son, they're all out with their glasses on looking at the eclipse. And here I am, like the boring guy that's inside meditating. It wasn't boring at all. It was really cool. And then right at the end of that totality, I did go outside and look at it too, and that was spectacular as well. And so anyhow, that I had already kind of, you know, had nice experiences with eclipses, but that was an experience I had that was like, without a shadow of a doubt, there's something. It was sometimes, if you've ever had an experience of having amazing meditation right as the sun is coming up, and you can just kind of dip into, kind of penetrate below your senses a little more easily during that time. It's kind of like what this was, but then like times a bunch. And I really enjoyed the experience. So now I'm even more enthusiastic about practicing during eclipses. But what I was saying, though, is that this eclipse is the start of a new cycle of eclipses, because the eclipse axis just changed. And so now in Vedic astrology, the eclipse axis for the next period of time, over a year, is going to be in Libra and Aries. And so this eclipse today is in the sidereal Aries, in the Vedic Aries, and it's in the nakshatra that is called Bharani. And Bharani nakshatra is represented by the symbol of a vulva, the female sexual organ, but it is also ruled by Yama, which is the deity of death and rebirth. It's just the deity of death, really, but as my Drupada, my astrology teacher, likes to say, is that in Westerner, our relationship to death is very different than, like, say, in India, where this languaging comes from. And so we want, like, death and rebirth, whereas this is like death, death is it. So death is just transformation. Death is transformation. That's all it is. So, like, if you get the death card in, like, a tarot deck, it doesn't mean you're going to die. It just means there's a transformative energy to that aspect of life. And that's what eclipses bring, is a transformative energy to certain domains of our life. And so, for instance, depending on each person, this will interact with this eclipse axis for the next year and a half will be energizing in a certain way, or activating specific domains of our life. And it's going to be different for all of us, because once again, we have different architecture. You can see that architecture reflected, at least in part, in a person's horoscope, for instance. But that's just one way to read the language of nature. I always like to make the point that I don't think it's so much of it like planets up there controlling us, but that's just the way of reading the language of nature, so that we can understand ourselves and we can understand the mathematics of living here, the mathematics of this universe. When the sun comes up and the sun goes down, it's all part of the mathematics. We know the mathematics of physics very well, but there's also metaphysical mathematics that are quite important. And so that's a bit about what astrology is, and about a lot of the science of yogic practices. We call it metaphysical, which I think at least is a far better semantic than New Age. It's not New Age. This stuff is ancient. And so New Age relative to what? So metaphysical is inferring that we're working with our subtlety. And not only are we working in just simply the realm of polarity and duality, positive, negative, masculine, feminine, good and bad, dark and light, but we're also endeavoring to dip below that surface of polarized life into what in Kundalini Yoga often is referred to as the neutral mind. Again, a little bit of a dry semantic, but a good one, I think, because that's exactly what it is. You have a negative mind. You have a part of the mind that is always looking for what is wrong. The useful part of the negative mind, its real essence, is it's protective. It's helpful. It's the quickest part of our mind, and it's the first part of our mind that interacts with anything. So you come to like a webcast like this, it's like, maybe hopefully there's some discernment and like some healthy skepticism. Anytime you're going to work with your life force and you're thinking about life, is always take it with a grain of salt until you really feel like, this is for me. And so, if that ever happens. And so, neutral mind means meditative mind also. First is the negative mind. Its job is to protect you. Second is the positive mind. It's always looking for opportunity. What can I get out of this? This might really be helping me. I've been miserable lately, or I've been really anxious. I'm feeling really fearful, and I'm not feeling connectivity to my purpose. Maybe this could be helpful. Maybe this can help, like, kind of get the circuits connected again. Or maybe I do feel great and I do feel connected to my purpose. And because I feel connected to my purpose, I even want to make sure I continue to blossom and to nurture that, because that's my experience, is when you feel genuine connected to the greater purpose of your life. And much of the time, this is something we can't really articulate with words. Teaching meditation and yoga is not the great purpose of my life, but it's one of the vehicles that the bigger dharma of my life expresses itself through. And the same will be for everyone else in that similar way. But when I feel the treasure of that, when I'm experiencing that, and because that gives me more of a sustained happiness, because it's interconnected to how my life is in service to others. Purpose is always connected to how we're adding to life, how we're utilizing our creativity. So I even think I get up and I go outside and I like to sweep the front porch. I just like to sweep in front of the door of the house. I learned that from somewhere long ago. But it's a nice thing to do. It helps to just open up, clear the energetic space, and say, welcome to the day. And it's a feeling of taking care of life and adding to life and being creative. It's not just using life and waiting things to what is going to come to me, but it's giving to life. Things will come to you. Don't worry. When we live in that way, that's living in a way of prosperous heart, prosperous mind. But that's what we mean by when we say the power of our happiness is to cultivate these types of things so that we can traverse all the peaks and the valleys of life, and we all have them all. That's the simple mathematics of things. So while the laws of karma may be very, very clear in physical reality of physics, you throw something up, it comes down. It's cause and effect. When we get into the more subtle parts of life and the fluctuations of thought, mind, intention, emotion, desire, the physics may be a little less obvious because the difference of time and space is there. Things don't move through time and space the same way subtly like they do physically. So perhaps what we're experiencing now, if we're going through some difficulty, is karmas from something that happened long ago. Effect. By karmas, we just mean cause and effect. And the thing about it is this idea of karma, and to try and to understand karma is I don't understand karma. I understand aspects of karma, but how the laws of karma actually work are totally mysterious to me. But I experience it all the time. So part of the study of some yogas is actually more and more understanding the subtleties and the many facets of the laws of karma, and what that could mean without using the older or the Sanskrit language, or an Indian language or any other language to use more like Western psychological language. At least we could talk about that in terms of the subconscious mind and emotional and mental and desire tendencies that perpetuate within our psyche. You can think of them, some of like our oldest, deepest habits. Some of them so old you don't even realize there's so much a part of us we don't even realize they're habits until we start to use meditation practice, yogic practices that helps to purify more of the density of the psyche, expand the sense of awareness. Now we can see what that is. And sometimes it's really pleasurable, and you have these meditative experiences that really help you experiencing like the glory of your brilliance. That absolutely happens. But sometimes also you're being revealed certain ways that you've been causing yourself and others suffering through our non-desirable emotional tendencies. And we all have those. And so to be tender and open to that it requires tenderness, I find, but it also requires compassion. It requires compassion for ourselves, because otherwise, if it starts getting mixed in with shame, because we're seeing ways that maybe we're being emotionally immature. And that's all relative, because we're, relative to where we'll be 5 years from now, probably what we are now is more relatively emotional immature, because that's an ever unfolding, blossoming process of maturation. The maturation of the consciousness and the maturation of the heart doesn't have a stopping point. That's why in Guru Nanak in his Japji he said, Nanak Bhagatas Da Vagas. He said those who are in love, their vagas usually is translated as bliss, but what it infers is it's like a flower that never stops blossoming. Really cool idea. So this is transcendent of the two polarities, the dualistic world. You see, and so it blossoms and then it dies. So this kind of continual blossoming, what is that all about? That's something quite subtle. That's something that the yogis would call ananda, bliss. But bliss doesn't quite do the trick in terms of helping us understand what it is. It has to be experienced. Bliss is not something, this energy, what we're talking about, is not something that goes up, because it's also not something that goes down. So we're talking about a very subtle facet of the human organism, of your human being, of your human consciousness. Your beingness is penetrating down deeper below the senses, so that you can dwell in the part of ourselves that revitalizes everything. And so this is the basic idea, is that at the nucleus of you, there's a great reservoir of vitality, of creativity, of energy and purpose. But this is something you have to verify for yourself. Is that true? And this is what yogic practices are helpful in doing. So if we can get our life force flowing and then well-centered, it's a good moment during an eclipse time to get the life force well-centered, so we get more of the medicine of it and less of the kind of disruption, because it also is a disruptive energy. The two nodes of the ecliptic, one is represented by the head without a body, Rahu, north node, and the other is represented by a yogi with a head cut off, Ketu. And so these are very mystical energies. Very mystical energies. They are also represented by the Ida and Pingala, the two channels that flow along the spine in a spiral fashion around the central channel. Ida and Pingala, one is carrying positively charged chi, life force. The other is carrying negatively charged chi, life force, starting at the base of the spine, left and right sides, spiraling up, ending at the left and the right nostril, which is why if you inhale through your left nostril and exhale through your right nostril, you'll increase the lunar chi, lunar prana, negatively charged prana, feminine energy, relaxing energy. And if you inhale through your right nostril and exhale through your left, it stimulates Pingala Nadi, which is more energizing. It's solar energy. And so this is the simple ideas and techniques that the yogis understood very, very well. It's very sophisticated. It's also very simple, because this is human life. This is using your breath, using your body to kind of tune your instrument so you can do what you came here to do. That's what we're doing here today. And so this eclipse cycle is beginning a big cycle that is going to be for some time and happening in our life. So to take a little time together to bring ourselves into that more neutralized, intuitive, transcendent space, and to give the mind a rest, give the prana concentration, the mind will relax. There's all the time we have to use our mind, thinking, figuring out our life, doing. This practice, this journey that we're going on here today, is about, for this period of time, be here. Love yourself in that way. If you can turn off your notifications and all that, that's ideal. and to just be present, because then everything else benefits. Because the more we can be present, the more we're likely to penetrate below our senses, to get into that space of what we can sometimes call shunya. Neutralization means 0 point. Neutralize. Shunya means 0. But shunya is a state of great blissfulness. And so where we can once again feel our sense of being. It's like, this is what I'm all about. Not in an intellectual way. It doesn't mean like, yes, I'm this is my career. And in the West, we tend to think of things so career orientation. So we start to talk about dharma and purpose, and folks start thinking about their career. This is just one way that dharma can have an expression of itself, but the career itself is not really the dharma. And so to get into that space to where we feel meditatively happy, that's a happiness that doesn't require outer stimulus like bank account going up, relationship happening the way you're hoping it would. Those are stimulus for that give us some happiness. But to have the non-stimulated happiness is a great treasure. So then you feel the desire and also a certain sense of responsibility to take care of it. And that's what a practice is. Taking care of your inner happiness and having it and giving it some systemized priority in your life. And so that's why we created Life Force Academy. That's why we do the 40-day challenges, and that's why we do the immersions, which I think are the most important thing we do every year. And twice a year to have something to give yourself a really deep reset. But that's also why I would do in a class like this today. To say, all right, Eclipse is a great trigger time. It's not really great for most other things, but it's fantastic to do a meditation, yoga practice. But from the part of our minds that might be in its going mode, that doesn't sound fun. But once you get in it, it actually is pretty fun. And once you get going with it, sometimes you don't want it to stop. It's like, when's the next one? Let's go. When's that next lunar eclipse? 2 weeks. And then you start to do it as an enjoyment, not just as something I'm trying to do for self-improvement. It's about self-amplification, brightening our happiness, brightening our mind, keeping our creativity flowing, feeling connection to our sense of purpose. It's really about exposing our real self, exposing our true self, not improving anything. Right on? So if you're brand new to doing any of this, welcome. So glad you came. And all the old friends, new friends, welcome. Thank you. We're going to begin. And so bring your hands and make a little heat, a little friction in the palms. And bring your hands into the prayer pose. And inhale deeply. And exhale. Inhale, please. And exhale. And keep going like that, inhaling very deeply through your nose. And exhale. Try to keep your shoulder blades released down, your sit bones connected. Try to lift through your heart some, and the palms pressed together. That's called neutralization, left and the right. Negative and the positive coming together at the heart center point, like that. It's perfect. And keep breathing though, inhaling very deeply, suspending it for a moment. And then exhaling completely. Feel like you're pressing the palms together in a certain way that it's encouraging your brain hemispheres to coordinate. Close your eyes down, inhaling, suspending, and then exhaling. And as the thoughts start to jump and distractions start to come in, perfect. Just allow them. Don't worry about it. And then as you're able to, go back to the enjoyment of revitalizing through your breath. Inhaling deeply. Exhaling completely. Just like that. With the eyes closed down, just relax the gaze up in the area where the root of your nose meets your skull bone. It's a little bit between the two eyebrows, but where the root of the nose meets the skull bone. You don't have to force it. It's just endeavoring to just gently relax your gaze up into that space to help to bring the mind into its intuitive state. Turiya. Where it's a neutralization of the polarity. This is your magnetism. Every magnet is a positive and a negative pole. But if you center your life force well and bring the mind in its more intuitive, relaxed space, which is what we're working to do today, that's why the magnetism gets stronger. And prosperity will flow. But it flows in the current of dharma, of purpose, of generosity. And so you put the sound on it and to tune in. And if you're brand new to this Kundalini yoga practice, don't worry too much if there's some things that you're not quite sure on. It's no big deal. Today we're just gonna get into the enjoyment of it, and then if you want to really learn the nuts and bolts, there's so many opportunities to do that later. Inhale, please. And it'll vibrate the sound onga, like in a frontal lobe, forehead, skull bone. It's like a like that. See if you can make it and then it's Namo. Namo, sound current of the heart chakra. It's like tuning an instrument, really. Like a Gurudev. When it's Dev is like Deva, the navel comes up and in. It's like a lifting and uplifting. Gurudev, wisdom, uplifting wisdom. Gurudev Namo. Gurudev Namo. Om Namo. Gurudev Namo. The simple idea with the mantras and sound current is to utilize them, at least one aspect is to utilize them to kind of attune the mind and attune your energy to the more subtle intelligences of nature, of life. The intelligence of love, the intelligence of compassion, the intelligence of wisdom. That all of life is actually living wisdom. What is the wisdom that creates the tree? Inhale deeply. Come onto the hands and knees. And we'll start to move the spine. What's the wisdom that's creating all of the oceans and the creatures in there? All of life is intelligence. What are these bodies and its incredible intelligence? Hands, open all your fingers wide and press them into the earth. And you can press your arms into the earth a little, you know? Feel a root line And then you start to inhale, the head is coming up as the spine is coming down. And then exhale, and your head comes down, and you arch the spine. And at first it might move a little slow, and you're finding your groove, and you're trying to loosen up a little bit. But please put your breath into the body, and put your emphasis on a really nice deep breathing, like... Good. And then, as you're continuing, now it's not about creating maximum extension. In fact, often people are a little overextending on the inhale. But work to make now a suppleness of the spine. It's not much of a pause between the two positions. Now you're starting to just make a nice deep breath rhythm and creating a nice suppleness of the spine. Spinal fluid is very much, we can think of like the battery fluid of the nervous system, as well as the endocrine system, and really thus the whole human organism. And so the physical parts of the human organism and its physiology has its subtle corollaries, its subtle expression. So the subtle expression of the spine is the nadis, the Ida, Pingala, Shushmana, and the chakras, the central nervous system. Central nervous system and central channel, corollaries. So right now, though, you're working with all of it. You're using the breath to start to not only create nice oxygenation of the blood, giving nice sort of lightness of being, bringing a more balance into the mind, helping the metabolism. So the nice purification processes of your cellular intelligence are well supported, but also revitalization of the cells and the tissue layers, all that through your breath and through your rhythm. And now start to get into a groove, thinking less, breathing and moving more. It's a time to be happy, it's a time to uplift our lives, and yes, yoga, meditation, but not so serious. And remember to strengthen the enjoyment facet of life. Yes, keep going. Inhale, head is up. And exhale, head is down. And you'll come sitting on your heels. You can also sit on a chair if you're not able to sit on your heels. And if this is uncomfortable, you can put a cushion between your feet and your butt, or you could do it also like in between your legs and sit on it that way. That works. But make sure either way you have your sit bones well connected and you're lifting through the heart. Hands are on your lap. If you're in a chair, hands on your lap, feet flat on the floor. Yeah, and then when you do it, your sit bones press down into the earth as your heart sternum lifts. Chin is ever so slightly in, so it's like a... And just, start off nice and slow, because that'll allow you to put some breath into it. You can go your own pace, but in a moment, in just a little bit, if possible, you might work up into this pace, so like set, na, set, na, set, na. It's not about doing a maximum stretch. It's about creating a suppleness and a substantive breath rhythm. Na, set, 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 na. If that's too fast for you, don't worry about it. Just do you. meditative gaze. Root of the nose meets the skull bone. Then ride the rhythm. Put your energy in rhythm. Put the breath in rhythm. And try to merge your mind into the breath rhythm. That's why we use a mantra, merge the mind into the breath rhythm. Sit, no, sit, no, sit, no. Deeper the breath, please. Okay, deepest inhale. Suspend the breath. And then your pelvic floor lifts up. Mula Bandha. Pelvic floor lifted, navel up and in. Exhale. Good. Make your way back sitting cross-legged. And you see how neutralization of the psyche, neutralization of the prana, up, down, in, out. When you go in rhythm, it's not a thinking so much. It's now you're starting to groove. You put your prana in rhythm, you put your life in rhythm. Put your life in rhythm, you don't have to go find a purpose. You can't avoid it. Sometimes it'll have you wanting to avoid it though, because Dharma is not always the pleasures of our life. Dharma is sometimes the responsibilities of our life. Yeah? Don't mean to bring all that Saturn energy into it, but it's very real. And Saturn is still very strong. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing, it's a bad thing, it's all the things. But we can always make it a good thing by paying attention to what are the deeper responsibilities of our life and take care of them. That'll make us happy. And this gives us good energy. Hands are going to be on your shoulders like this. And then it'll be like inhaling left, exhaling right. So you go left, right. Then at the very end, negative, positive, inhale deeply, and it'll be a suspension and it's a neutralization of the prana at each of these exercises. But right now, put yourself in rhythm. Any rhythm. Is like helping the spine to open at the height of the heart center. Only about 10 seconds, real good breathing, deep rhythmic breathing. To the center, deepest inhale. Suspension of the breath, meditative gaze, third eye. Suspension of the mind, neutralization. Exhale. Relax. Hands to your knees, like this. Heart lifted up, sit bones connected, yeah? Heart lifted up, very uplifting, but it's like inhaling up, exhale, just release. Pelvic floor, lift up in it. And every exhale, let the stress, upper back, neck, shoulders release. Let the mind become lighter. Make the breath rhythm groove. Keep going. Equal exhale, inhale. The inhale's has as much depth as the exhale. Inhale, squeeze up. Squeeze out some tension. Exhale. Beautiful. Stretch your legs wide open. Just in Kundalini yoga practice, very simple. Kind of starting with the lower part of the spine, spinal flexes, then up to the middle part of the spine, spinal twists, then in the higher part of the spine, these shoulder shrugs. So it's first step, opening up the spinal channels. Second, opening up your life nerve, the sciatic. Flex the feet. Energy in your toes, engage them. Inhale to the center, turn to either side, lead with your navel and your heart. Exhale down. Worry not about touching your toes. Forget your toes. Think about your heart. Inhale, fill the lungs, lifting through the heart. Hinge. Yeah, just like that. Hinging from the navel, leading with your heart. And every inhale, fill your lungs. The groin area is relaxed, yet the feet flex, toes engage. And then enjoy. Fill the lungs. Inhale deep, and then hinge forward, exhale. If you can't touch your toes, just hands in front of you, palms on the floor, like that, yeah. And just long, deep breathing for a few moments. Keep the feet flexed, toes engaged, breath is conscious, long and deep. Fantastic. Shake your legs out, relax up. And you might have a sip of water. And I'll tell you about this kriya, this set we're about to do. All three exercises, your breath is the same. It's an O-shaped mouth, and it comes from your chest, like this. So the mouth has to kind of pucker into an O shape, but it's not a puffing cheek breath. That's a different breath. This is more from the chest. Kind of like if your tongue was out and you're panting, like that you feel it in your chest, but bring the tongue in, O-shaped mouth, and it's a great immune system breath. It stimulates the thymus gland. Fantastic. You get more of the prana centered in your organism, your immune system always benefits because now you have more vitality. Otherwise, your immune intelligence and your vitality of the organism in yoga and Ayurveda called ojas, it has to work harder to maintain equilibrium and maintain the integrity of the organ intelligence, the physiological intelligence, the cellular intelligence. Because the prana is going this direction, that direction, this direction, that direction. So part of maturity in life is learning where to give your energy and where not to give your energy in life. Where to give our energy in the areas that is dharma. And that doesn't mean just like spiritual, what we think is spiritual, but that sometimes means I've got a child. I need to take care of my child, therefore I don't have time for this. That's my dharma right now. How do you know if you have a dharma to have a child? Well, you have a child. That's one way to know that you have to take care of that thing, you know? And it's hard fucking work. Anybody who's ever done it knows what I mean. And so that's dharma. But these are all the streams and the tributaries. It's not the supreme dharma. So that's where we can learn how to set boundaries in our life. because we know we only have so many breaths here. Boundaries actually give us a capacity to have more compassion because we have the inner vitality to feel safe in the body and then have generosity of heart. But you still know where is my energy needing to go, and where do I need to set boundaries to make sure it doesn't go in areas that are going to unnecessarily drain me. And this type of thing, that's a forever process too. Okay, so this kriya, stimulating immune intelligence with that breath. The second problem, there's three main problems of this kriya. I'm describing each one at a time. First problem is the breath. Second problem is the gaze. The gaze of this kriya is tip of your nose. So if you're not used to that, you can look at your index finger, then touch your nose, and you try to relax the gaze onto the tip of the nose. If you haven't done it much, it's not particularly easy to sustain, and you might feel like you're cross-eyed. It's not a cross-eyed gaze. It's just a relaxing the gaze down to the tip of the nose. But if you need to, just close your eyes. That's okay too. And if you can then just gently open them back up and look down from time to time, that's fantastic. It stimulates your pituitary gland. That puts energy into the blood, gives energy into the brain. When pituitary is secreting into the bloodstream, energy to the brain. Now you can concentrate. What is concentration? Qi is concentrated in the central life force system. Prana. And that allows the mind to get into its intuitive, meditative zone. This is the flow of our life. So problem 2 is the gaze. Problem 1 is the breath. All 3 exercises in this kriya, same breath, same gaze. The third problem is the physical exercise. It's like this. So that when the hands twist in, they come into fists, and when they twist away, they open up. So okay, you ready? It's like this. Remember the chest breath? O-shaped mouth, tip of the nose gaze. It's good. It's just a couple minutes. You can also do the hands in half that time like this. Listen to the rhythm. Beautiful, keep going. From the chest, breathe. Beautiful, keep going. Anytime you need to rest, by all means rest. Otherwise, let's go. Tip of the nose, from the chest. Those channels of the wrists, you'll feel how the prana will flow once this is over. It's like an acupuncture treatment. Through the mouth, inhale deep. And squeeze your fists, and now tighten the muscles around your spine and lift up through your pelvic floor. Rectum, sex organ, and then navel up and in. And then like a cannon through your mouth, exhale. 2 more, inhale. Suspension of the breath, a little tightening the muscles around the spine, lifting up through your pelvic floor. Squeeze the fist deep. Tighten the fist, squeeze the spine. Exhale. Inhale. Tighten deep. Exhale. Amazing. Relax. Open your eyes, have a little bit of water. It's no easy exercise at all. Maybe if you've been doing it a long time, it's a little easier. But even for any of us, all of these things, as soon as you start moving the prana in this way, working to stimulate pituitary gland and center the life force, your subconscious gets stimulated, and thus it often brings up, you feel more distracted, you feel like a bit more like almost in a pressure cooker is the feeling of a kriya sometimes. But as we'll see, I predict by the time we're done here, which is not long, the feeling of all of that pressure cooker will create a type of relief that is beyond the type of relief that we can get from just, let me relax. That every once in a while, it's nice to put pressure on the system so that you stimulate its inner vitality, just like every once in a while, it's good to put pressure on the body so it stays strong. That's called exercise. And so the same is true for the vitality of the more subtle bodies, like the pranic body, the life force body, the chi, that which is when you go get acupunctured and you feel so great when you leave. This is why they understand very profound, sophisticated art and science. We shouldn't just call these sciences because they're at least as much art. And you start to understand them that way, it helps to understand it. Because again, now we're not just physical, it's also subtle. And what is art? It gets us into our subtle nature, our inspiration, our creativity. It helps to communicate the things that aren't easy to communicate through an ordinary language. Communicate the voice of the heart through some music. Communicate the voice of the heart through a film. Communicate the voice of the heart through the art of your life. And so these are the basic ideas. But to get in that pressure cooker, when you're in it, to know that you're in it, and that's what it is, and that's kind of par for the course, is helpful. So you just don't overdo it. You don't have to overpressure yourself. You can't speed this thing up by being extreme in the way we practice. It's try to be rhythmic in the way we practice, try to be conscious and aware in the way we practice, try to be loving in the way that we practice. But you won't speed it up by going like real aggressive with it or extreme with it. See if you can get into the art of it and to revitalize ourselves. Take care of ourselves. If you need to rest during any of the exercises, just rest. But try not to, but I encourage you to stay in the vibe though, and stay in the meditative state, and to enjoy the music, and to just stay in the process. It's not about how well we perform physically. Second exercise, okay? Same breath, same gaze, tip of the nose. You're gonna lead with the heel of your palm. And it's like you're pushing something away from you. But you see how it's not just with your arms. You see how it's a spinal twist. It's like a dance, but the pelvic floor lifted up, sit bones connected, and it's that same breath. It's not about fast, it's about deep, okay? Substantive, like... from the chest. And anything that's not serving you in your life, use your navel energy. Move from your navel. Lead with the heel of your palms. from the center of you and move from there. Use the power of your chi from your navel. Not erratic, rhythmic. Forget about your mind and all the thinking. Get into the groove. Claim your domain. Create your boundaries. Strengthen your resolve. 10 seconds. Inhale deep, left arm out, right arm back. Make your hands like lion's claws. And then exhale and switch. Anybody needs to relax, please relax. Otherwise, inhale deep. Make your hands lion's claws. Squeeze the spine. Exhale. Inhale. Squeeze deeply the spine. Make it lion's claws. Relax. You know what I mean? Don't bring yourself to the point of passing out. It doesn't speed things up. Like, it's not like, how high can I get? It'll get plenty high. Don't worry. Just relax. Allow ourselves now. Let the mind be as the mind is. Let the breath flow as the breath can flow. And just enjoy yourself and your sensitivity. Aligning your mind just very artistically, energetically with the good nature of things. Trusting the deeper path of your life. We're always being taken care of and attuning our hearts and minds to that. It's nothing malefic about an eclipse. This is Mother Nature. How is Mother Nature? At the ultimate level, it's not good, it's not bad, it's transcendent. Inhale and have some water for the last exercise. Of course, within relative context of our lives, there's malefic and benefic and all this type of thing. But when we're practicing yoga, like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the yogi doesn't distinguish between auspicious and inauspicious, benefic and malefic. The yogi is dwelling in between the two pairs of opposites, in the space between. And this is where we charge our batteries, in the space between. Then we'll live our human life, and we'll work with the benefic, we'll work with the malefic, we'll live our life, we'll raise our kids, we'll have our jobs, and by the time we come to the end of our life, it's like life well lived. Find our joys, express our passions, our pleasures, our fears, our desires, all of it. But giving wisdom to that by learning to dwell in the space of the meditative heart and mind, to bring ourselves into that, to keep strength of our happiness power. Last exercise, and we'll relax for a few minutes, okay? Same breath. Same gaze, yeah? And it's gonna be like that. Like this. Fingers not stretched out, but they're not touching. And then the elbows are slightly bent. This is my favorite. The pelvic floor lifted up, sit bones connected. And it's for the heart prana. Like, Nice rich circles, like backward circle, opening. Heart center, chest out. In rhythm and circulation, you'll feel how it opens the spine at the height of your heart. Tip of the nose gaze, chest breathing. Dig deep, yeah? Open with the breath. Tip of the nose, could you? Tip of the nose, very mystical breath. Gaze, that is. Relax the gaze, tip of the nose, and rhythm. It'll move your lymphatic fluids under your arms and in your chest. And circulate and open the pranic channels. Circulate the prana. You can move your inner energy. You can move your life and its circumstances in its various domains. What are you wishing for your life right now? Bring it into this exercise. Turn your body and mind like a living prayer wheel. Less than a minute to go. Tip of the nose, rhythm. Through the mouth, inhale. Make your fingers stretched out and tight like steel. Stretch your tongue all the way out, maximum. Stretch the undercord of your tongue, don't be shy. And then exhale. 2 more times through the mouth, inhale. Tighten the fingers, stretch your tongue, maximum. Stretch your nervous system, activate central nerve, exhale. Inhale deeply. Fingers tight, squeeze the spine, stretch the tongue, stretch the tongue. Exhale. And relax, and just relax into your meditative space. Let the breath flow. Let the mind be spacious. Inhale. And relax for a few minutes onto your backs, please. Let your arms out some, let your legs out some. And let your, please, if you could, please let your jaw relax. And please let your tongue relax. You guys stretch your jaw open maybe. And then relax. And tongue and cheek, jawbone, head, relax. And your arms and all the way over your fingers and the heart and the chest. And all the back. Like the whole thing is just melt into the earth. Pelvic bowl, let it relax. Relief for everything. Sexual organs and system, everything relax. Chest, thighs, knees, feet, toes. Everything. Mind. Let the mind relax. Just for a few minutes, totally let go. Let go to life. Relax into her. Inhale. Exhale. Move your fingers and toes. Rotate your wrists and ankles. And rub the palms and make some friction and heat. And rub the soles of the feet. Make some heat. And cat stretch to each side. Hug the knees to the chest and rock and roll a couple times. And come on up, have a bit of water, and we're readying for this exquisite meditation. It's called Yoni Kriya. So I was saying this eclipse is happening in the part of the sky, Bharani Nakshatra, and its symbol is the vulva, the yoni. And so we're going to do this meditation together. It's just 11 minutes. It's a great way to just bring our whole energy as into the center of this thing. And it's a nice time now to kind of connect into your sense of intention for your life right now, whatever that may be. We all have different things going on in our lives. We have waves of things that get priority and importance in our life, largely by what gets our attention, right? What's getting our attention? Often what's getting our attention is where we've got challenges. But sometimes where what's getting our attention is where we have desires. And so, but there is a mathematics, there is a rhythm to nature. And so every once in a while, Jupiter goes into Pisces. And once in a while, in this case, would be in 12 years. And that's happened, so that's very nice. And because for the last 2 years of our life, Jupiter, the energy of our collective wisdom, has been under Saturn's rule and weakened. And so now, finally, after a couple of years, Jupiter is in its own sign and strong in Pisces, and right now joined by an exalted Venus. So there are some very positive things happening, and yet we're still in this great wave of change. And so I don't think we should expect that, things are just going to be like smooth like butter right now going on through this year. But I do think it's going to be totally different new energy. I think there's some great innovation happening. I think there's some tremendous collective transformation. But then each of us have that going on individually of our life. Some people's their relationships have totally changed. Other people, their career. Other people, where they live has totally changed. Other people their family dynamics have totally changed in another way. Maybe a beloved one has passed on. Maybe there's a new baby. I've been walking around town lately and seeing that everyone seems to have a baby, huh? What was everyone doing during the pandemic? And it's beautiful. There's a lot of new energy. And so we're going to do this Kriya. And we all, even sometimes though, I feel like the intention doesn't have to always be specific. It's just let me be in the flow of what is good for me. Let me be in the flow of what is most helpful for me and for others. But to include all of us in our intent, I think, is always very important. And that's what the Buddhists call bodhicitta, is that it's a interconnected reality, that what I'm putting into the web is coming back to me. So my happiness is totally intertwined with my genuine concern for your happiness. My happiness is totally intertwined with my genuine concern for your happiness. So the more I can strengthen my concern for your happiness, that only can be genuine if I also have that deep concern for my own happiness, and I'm actively doing something about it. To have concern is one thing, to do something about it is another thing. And to do something about our happiness means we're working with our mind, and we're working to become more emotionally mature, and we're working to find the more sustained, exalted types of joys and happiness that keep us happy. So this is the glory of yoga. And so this final meditation, you can put your sense of intention into it, but you don't have to hold that intention the whole time. You can just start with it. Then the idea is to just meditate deep into the breath. And I know a lot of you here are doing this thing first time, but it's no problem really, because sometimes we have people who've never done any of this and they'll come to the immersion, which starts on a Wednesday evening and ends on a Sunday. First time, never done anything, and they do fantastic. So that's what I like about Kundalini Yoga. It's not like a beginner, advanced type thing. It kind of just meets you where you're at. But to go through this big cycle of change that we have, to have a couple of kind of milestone things, all right, eclipse, solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, solstice time, doing kind of making sure we're getting our oil change, making sure we're getting the tune up so that we can thrive through the year is the idea. Yoni Kriya. Like this. Take your thumb tips touching and take your pinky tips touching. The other 3 fingers stretch out and away from you, and you hold it in front of your heart center like this, elbows close to or against the rib cage. Heart lifted, shoulder blades release, and then eyes are closed down, or you can gently open them part way and tip of the nose. If you can tip of the nose, do that. Otherwise, eyes relax down. And you're going to take through your puckered lips, a long, deep inhale like you're drinking the breath. And then through the nose, you exhale with some strength, using a bit of your navel and diaphragm to help push the breath out. Inhale, drinking the breath long, meditatively, slow, deep. And exhale, pushing all the breath out. And that's all there is to it, keeping the body as still as possible. The other 3 fingers are stretched out with some engagement away from you. Yoni Kriya. The thumbs, tips, the pinky tips create the yoni energy. The other 3 fingers stretched out. The space between the hands bounded by thumbs and the Mercury fingers. Mercury fingers is the energy representing communication, and thumbs the male sex organ. It's a creative cave of birth and rebirth. In our lives, we're always dying and we're always being reborn. If we can get into that river and see it for its natural beauty, in the flow of our life. This Kriya can space you out. Don't overpressure yourself. Do it normally, and within 10 to 11 minutes, it can change the total glandular system. Cools inflammatory energy and helps it become its more desirable expression of radiance, luminosity, and luster. It relaxes the wind energy and allows it to give us lightness of being. It purifies the earth and water energy and opens up the heart of devotion. Breathe.
Yeah.
is at its apex, moving right toward its apex. Concentrate on the breath. And like you're drinking your vitality, drinking the prana. Hold your body very regal stature. Feel your sense of beauty and brilliance and intelligence. And if you can't feel that within yourself, see if you can emulate the feeling of beauty and brilliance embodied. Breathe as long and deep as an inhale as you possibly can. Keep your concentration in the breath and the body and the gaze. Try not to budge. A few more minutes. Stretch the 3 fingers out. Heart held high, please. Shoulder blades release, pelvic floor lifted. And breathe deep as you start to get very spacey. And put more breath into the body, but with concentration, and feel the energy of the body. moments. Concentrate on the breath. Try to be perfectly still, like a statue, but also more like an antenna. Like a beautiful instrument for all that is good, all that is real, all that is true, all that is loving. Be that instrument. Breathe. Deeply through the nose, exhale through the mouth, puckered lips, very deep inhale, and suspend the breath. Hold the body perfectly still and let the mind be in suspension and spacious, and the heart expansive and soft. Hold the posture through your nose, exhale, and inhale deeply. Suspend the breath, spacious and still. Hold the posture through your nose, exhale, inhale very deeply. Spacious and still. Exhale. Relax into your meditative space. And give a good wish for yourself and your life, and put it into this energetic space. Inhale, stretch up your arms like this. Stretch up your arms. And shake, 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 shake. Shake, distribute the energy around. And exhale, keep shaking. And shake, shake, shake. Relax. I want to read you this. This is from Guru Nanak's Japji, translated. And I pulled this before the class, and I just want to read part of it to you. Now, those who, with the purity of their own spirits, have recognized their essential reality, they become like living lights on the earth, to whom all the creation loves. Holding the truth in their hearts and within their very auras, they become like leaders on the earth. In the royal court of Dharma, those who have recognized their own purity, they feel the greatest honor. This is the part I love. Dharma discipline is the bull upon which the entire universe rests. This mythological idea from India that dharma and discipline are the bull upon which the entire universe rests, and is born as the son of Mother Compassion. Deep and continuous patience is the mantra and the thread which holds it all in place and binds everything together. So cool. And it's born, Dharma is the bull upon which the entire universe rests, and is born as the son of Mother Compassion. Deep and continuous patience is the mantra and the thread which holds it all in place and binds everything together. If someone understands this, that person becomes a custodian of truth. Then he asks a question and he never gives its answer, which I also love. Nanak says, how much weight does the bull of Dharma carry on its back? And then later he goes on to say, Kudrat kavan kaha vichar vayana java. This is where what she's singing in this stanza of Japji. Kudrat kavan kaha vichar vayana java ekavar. Jotud bhave sahibalikar. Tu sada salamat nirankar. Which is, what of this universal, this translation, all the translations never quite get there. But what of this universal, unfathomable, and profoundly feminine creative power can I even speak or reflect? I can't even be a sacrifice to these. I'm not even capable of even knowing what this is, just little me. And then he says, what pleases thee is the only good worth doing. In other words, I'm just going to put my sails up and let the winds of Dharma move me in its direction. And this is a poet, a great saint and poet, who's in communion with Prakriti, with the mother of creation, and the mother nature, we could say. And then just expressing his heart, and then it becomes mantras and sacred poetry that helps to lift up and elevate millions of people all around the world. And it's just one of many examples. But the main thing is, I think, is that we all are endeavoring to discover what that is for us. And that's what we mean, and that's what we're doing in this summer, this spring, in early June, starting really with this eclipse here today. And then in 2 weeks, we have the second lunar eclipse, and then we have in early June, I believe it's the 8th through the 12th. June 8th through the 12th is this year the Life Force Academy immersion is called Unlocking Your Great Purpose. And through all the sessions, it's about going through the various ways that Dharma expresses itself in our life, that purpose energy that expresses itself in our life. And it's anchored in the 12 houses of the zodiac, and it's anchored in the teachings of yoga. For instance, in the session 1, Dharma of Self. Beneath this world of apparent change, there is a changeless reality. This same reality can be discovered when we transcend our 5 senses and penetrate into the nucleus of our being. The ancient rishis of the Vedas named it that the Atma, your individual vibration of infinity, innately interwoven into a greater whole. The Atma is clothed in our unique body and mind. It is reflected in what wise astrologers name the first house of self. The first house is the garden in which the seeds of our individuality, our sense of who we are, grows, and our personalized self takes root. So here we find inner confidence, our inner vitality, and our healthy sense of inner identity. So by tapping into that reservoir of the Atma, we definitively embark upon our hero's journey, our our heroic journey of our life. And then you can read on. There's 8 different sessions, and they're all like this. They're all different, though. One more. Session 2, Dharma of Magnetism. When we're well aligned with what our life is all about, prosperity flows in our direction. Very simple. When we're well aligned with what our life is all about, prosperity flows in our direction. With our magnetic field, we attract what we truly need for our life. Everything is endlessly provided. Yet, it's often the case that we don't operate from this perspective, right? Because at first it's sounding lofty. When we're well aligned with what our life is all about, prosperity flows in our direction. Sounds great. But often it's the case we're not operating from that perspective. We become stuck in a real sense of lack. True? Definitely, yeah? We're not feeling the love. We might even feel bitter. But by elevating our life force and drawing the mind into its turiya state, when we penetrate below the senses, we discover the flow of life as supremely wise and supremely loving. So by attuning to that reality, we naturally enter into the great river of our life's path. You see how it goes around, starting in the Atma. By tuning to that reality, we naturally enter the great river of our life's path. All resources and sustenance are provided for our journey. That giving tree keeps on giving. Session 2, we experience Dharma as magnetism. And then it keeps going. And you can read all about all the 8 sessions. And I would encourage you to, because I want to invite you to join us for this. The in-person event's been sold out, I think, for some months. But this is not like an in-person event that will be like, also we're going to set up a camera and stream. Our virtual production of this event is as well produced as the in-person version of it. In other words, we put just as much energy into making the virtual production excellent as we do for the people who will be there. There'll be many more people taking the event virtually. There'll be a couple hundred people there here in the Sierra foothills of Northern California, but there'll be many, many more around the world. And we do this every year. This is my favorite event of the year, every year. To me, it's the most important event we do every year. Been doing it for over a decade. And I always am looking forward to it. And the whole month before it, most of my energy is there in terms of my creative energy is on this, because it's always when I'm learning, and it's when and I'm always feeling like I'm not up there like, let me teach you something. I'm just as much a part of it and going on the journey together. It's a journey. All this music you've been hearing, most of this stuff's all recorded at these immersions. This Simrit band is incredible. It's otherworldly, and it's fun. It delivers the creativity that's flowing from that stage, inspires the creativity of our own life, helps us to connect into what our life is about. And it's a pretty extraordinary experience. Of course, not everybody can be there live. So those of you who join it virtually, you have a lifetime access. You have the recordings, the on-demand replays, so you can do it on your own time zone. If possible, and we're still almost a month and a half away from it. This is June 8th through the 12th. So what we're encouraging, and those of you who feel that this might be something that would be awesome for you, is to mark that, create space in your calendar for that, and actually try to do it live. And if you can't do it live exactly, but do it on those days for your calendar. So if we're in the middle of the night because you're in Europe, then when you get up, you can do those sessions that day, and to schedule that out, because that's how this thing actually creates the most impact, by actually immersing yourself. It's one thing to do it like today, fantastic. But if you can carve out the time and space for you to actually do this stuff, we always recommend, if you can, have a nice, a good sized screen and good audio. But it works totally fine if you're doing it on your phone with some earphones. That totally works too. In your closet or wherever you can do it. Any of that works. But if you can, like maybe some people get Airbnb type things and get together with friends, or they create a room in their house and their friends come over and they do it together, cook meals together on the lunch breaks, this type of thing. It's so fun, and it's not uptight, it's not rigid. We're laughing, we're dancing, we're meditating, we're practicing, we're enjoying the Dharma. So I think if you read through the descriptions of the sessions, you'll get a sense of what it's all about. And if you like this is a whole nother level, and it's so great. I love it. You can tell, I'm sure. So anyways, right now is a early bird pricing is happening, and the regular price to have access to the whole immersion it's only $498, but the early bird right now, if you jump in, is $279. So that's really good. And there's also a payment plan option if that makes it easier for you. This is only two payments of $154. So that's the deal. That's the offer, and we hope you can be a part of it. I think you'll be really happy you did if you can. Okay, my friends? Okay, let's seal this thing and let's enjoy our day. We did a great job, didn't we? I thought so. And we worked hard, and now we get to have fun. So come into the prayer pose. After I'm done, after we seal the session here, I'll jump on, those of you who are here live, I'm going to jump on the Zoom room and say hi. I've got just a few minutes, but I want to say hi to everyone and hear from some of you. Okay? Inhale. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Aki. Thank you to the whole Life Force Academy team. So many people work really hard to make all these things happen. And I want to give a loving shout out to everyone, everybody. I'm part of the team. Thanks, Justin. And thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful rest of the day. And everything about the immersion's on your page here. And we'll send you the link. Okay, love you. Have a great, happy new moon, happy eclipse day. In a lot of ways, you see, regardless of whether you take this all literally or not, this is the training of how to develop the mind to become a happy person. Do you get that out of it? And that's the process we're going through right now. How do I continue to go through my process so that I now have the capacity to orient myself towards helping others?
Kundalini is amazing. It really helps you to be more grounded, and it really helps de-stress and takes away your anxiety and your fears. It's such an amazing tool to really become freer as a person and to become more of yourself and get comfortable with yourself.
So that's what a householder yoga life is about, is you're using the rajas of your life, the activity of your life, the stress of your life, the turbulence of your mind, and you're channeling it into more vitality, more consciousness, more love. That is the warrior way.
The combination of the intellectual capacity, the analytical capacity, the way Jai Dev explains things to me made a lot of sense. I don't like to do things out of the blue just because somebody says so. And the teachings are very profound from my perspective, and it resonated with me.
Your projection and your mental attitude creates the context for the stress of your life. The whole idea is moving beyond worry and fear. But that's not stuffing the worries and the fears that you have. It's learning to develop the type of character, develop the type of nervous system, type of mental caliber that you know how to not indulge worries. Okay? It takes a lot of power to be able to do that. But fortunately, you have a lot of power. Question is, do you grab hold of it? That's what this immersion is about. I think it's pretty rare in our lives that we have enough time for ourselves to where we can really take a leap in our life. There's so many demands on our life and all our responsibilities, and yet I think it's absolutely crucial that a couple times a year there's a period of days where we can really work with our life force. We can really work with the essential energy of our life, not in an outer way, but in an inner way, to where we really are taking care of our magnetism, we're taking care of our consciousness, we're taking care of our hearts, we're taking care of our bodies, and we're taking care of our joy. We're taking care of our happiness. We're not allowing the crashing waves of life to overtake our cheerfulness, to overrun our kindness and good nature. And that's why in my life, for over 20 years, I've always made sure 2 times per year, do something that's substantive enough in time and energy to give myself a total reboot, to give my mind and my body a total reboot. Because the beautiful thing is, at the center of us is the energy of our great purpose, the dharma of our life. And if we can take care of our mind and our body in this way, if we can work with our life force, our prana, our chi, and our energy, our kundalini in this type of a way, then the natural purpose of life will emerge. It will blossom innately, organically, and it will do so with great creativity, great beauty, and great joy. This is what the Life Force Academy Global Immersion is all about, and you can be a part of it from anywhere in the world. This thing delivers, regardless if you're there with us in person or if you're doing it from your home or wherever you are in the world. It's an incredible, transformative experience that over a period of several days that I'm asking you to carve out that time. It will deliver, and it will be something that you can revisit again and again and again. This is the way of really kind of plugging into our source of real good electricity of our life, the creativity of our life, the intelligence of our life, the happiness of our life. It's so easy to lose track of these things. And if we're not taking the time, if we're not creating that boundary, that's what putting something on your calendar is. It's a way of creating a boundary. This period of time is where this is happening. This is about working on me. This is about taking care of me so that I can live the real dharma, the real purpose of my life. So I want to cordially invite you to the Life Force Academy Immersion. The entire Simrit band is going to be there. The music that is created during these sessions, Kundalini yoga practices, meditation practices. It's so fun. It's such a joy. This is not something that is rigorous in a bitter, hard way. This is something that, once it gets going, is you just can't wait for the next session. And then when it's coming to the end, you just don't want it to end because you feel so good while you're doing it. And it's something that lasts with you. Right now, it's an early bird pricing available. It's a great time to get in, put it on your calendar, carve out the time for yourself. Give that commitment to yourself if you're feeling resonant with it, if you're feeling the call. If you've ever done anything like this with us before, you know what's up, you know it delivers. The video production, the audio music production is stellar. It's gonna be an amazing time. Don't miss it. You can click through here for all the details. But you're wired somehow. Like you have a certain way of existing that is absolutely natural and skillful for you. It's you're talented in that way. It's how your heart expresses itself. It's how you get inside of love, and how love expresses itself uniquely through you.
If you have a mind, you have a mission.
If you have a mind,
You have a mission.
If you have a mind,
You have a mission.